Are they here? Are these my wire nuts? No, these are potatoes. These aren't the wire nuts. All right, I got my wire nuts. So, like, what we have there are these here. So those there are wire nuts. So you have the red one, which you use for the hot wires and the neutral, and I have a green one here, which I'm going to use for the ground. All right, so with that, the materials. Now the tools you need are pretty basic. I use just straight linesmans, a screwdriver, razor knife for my install. So let me show you those. So you're gonna need a pair of linesmans, or a set of pliers with cutters. I use a razor knife and a screwdriver. I have a standard screwdriver. This is a real nice one to use. It's a kind of a medium-sized head. And also a multi-screwdriver. This has multiple types of heads and stuff that I can use. This one here has a nice little medium-sized head, so it's easy to get into the slots, easy to get into the screw slots. And these are 9-inch pliers. These are 9-inch linesman pliers. You can see that I've had a few incidences with this one, but that makes a good spot there for stripping wire. So that's the switch we're going to be wiring up. The wire from the bottom is the feed. The wire going out the top is going to a light. And that light's going to be in this closet right here. So let's go ahead and put that together. I'll show you how we put the wires together. First thing you're going to want to do is secure the wires. So that's what you use our staples for. And you want to be within a few inches of the box. And you don't want to slam that staple down too hard on the wire. It could damage the wire. This keeps the wire in place, but after you're done, but more importantly, it keeps it in place while you're making up the box. After you get that taken care of, then what we're going to do is strip the outside jacket of the wire off. And with that, I'm going to use my razor knife. So here you want to be careful you don't get into the actual wire itself. Damn things. I have to redo that. You want a sharp razor blade. Now that you have the jacket off, now you want to prep these for the connection. So now you want to use your pliers, and you want to leave 6 inches or a little more of wire in the box. Don't cut one ground wire, leave one ground wire long. And then you want to organize them so the grounds are in the middle of the wires, but they'll be in the back of the bundle when you put it in the box. So now these are going to be the first two things I connect together. So I just wrap these around like this. Cut off the extra. And then the neutral wires splice right through the box. I'm going to cut these to be equal lengths. And they make different types of pliers. They make some pliers that have wire strippers on them. I've been doing this a long time, so like when you get into the strip of the wire, you just bite onto the rubber, but you don't bite through the rubber, and you just push, and it pulls the rubber right off without damaging the wire underneath. Because if you damage the wire underneath, chance that it could be brittle. When you move it around, it could break. So if you're using regular pliers, you just a little bit of tension on the rubber, jacket, rubber insulation on the wire, push it, pulls right off. So these are the neutrals, and you twist these wires together clockwise. And this allows the current to flow through this box back to the panel or up to the light. The blacks are for the switch. And the same type of way we strip this, we strip the blacks. I make these the same length. I use the thickness of my pliers to figure out where I want to strip these. So I go about a 1/4 inch past the edge of my pliers, and there you go, stripped. But 1/4 inch past, stripped. And then on these here, I make a hook, and then a hook. And then, so this is ready for the switch. We need a wire nut for this, and we need a wire nut for the grounds. Wire nut for the neutrals, wire nut for the grounds. So I got my wire nuts. I can put the red wire nut on the white wire, which is the neutral wire. And then so this is what's nice about the green wire nut. It has that hole, so it can slide over here. You can slide over the wire, so you get this ground wire that comes out here at the end. You bring it down to where you connect them here and twist them together, and you twist them, twist the wire nut, and that attaches it to a secure bond. Now you have this as a tail, so this is now going to be what you attach to the switch for the ground. So here I'm going to cut off the end, make another hook. I'm going to push this ground into the box. So like, I got them kind of even here. So what I do is I pinch it, push it in towards the bottom, and that gives me a little bit of a hinge to push the wire nut up. You give me room in the switch for the box, for the device. Then I take this neutrals and I push the bottom into the back of the box to the left of the box, and I roll it around the inside of the box out of the way. Now I have just my wires to connect. And you want to set these up so that when you do the switch, you twist right to tight, right? So you want to have the hook go around the screws to the right, like this. So I just prep them all to go to the right when I get the switch. Okay, now we got the switch. So this is just a single pole switch. Obviously, this would not be going in now because it still has drywall to do. We need to do insulation, drywall, then we come in for the finish. But I'm showing this as an example. So you have your connection points here. These are your two terminals here, in and out. Now, on these switches, they also have these back wires here. So these little holes here, you can actually push your wires in to make the connection. I never do that. Number of reasons why. It's a spring-loaded connection, so once you put the wire in, the more you move it around, the more it becomes loose, and that becomes a problem, especially today with arc fault circuit breakers. If these aren't making good contact, it will trip the arc fault breaker, and that'll just become a nightmare you don't want to deal with. So the better way to do it is to put the wires under screws. So as you can see here, I'm all set up for my wires. What I like to do is, this is how the switch will sit. So on the up position is on, the down position is off, on, off. In the field, we always wire disconnect switches and everything from at the top. So what I like to do as a practice is to hit the top screw with the feed. So this particular box, the feed's coming in the bottom here, and that's this wire right here. So I'm going to put that on the top wire. So that way there, whoever gets in this box to do any maintenance or anything can feel comfortable that the top screw is the feed. And then the next wire goes on the next screw. And right when you tighten these down, you want to give them a good twist. Not too much, but you want to have it tight. And then you have the ground wire, which goes on this screw here. I'm going to close, as you can see, the hook open up a little bit, so I get it on here. I'm going to close that that hook up a little bit to make a better connection. So I'm going to close that up a little bit, straighten that out, get that back on there. So that's together there. And as you can see, the switch is wired. We have the hot on the top screw, switch leg, which goes up to the light, on the bottom screw, and then the ground. And then with this here is I got the top of the green wire nut is at the top of the box, so this will fit in here with me rolling these wires to the bottom and then up to the top again, so it kind of accordion style into the box. And then we can set the screws. And then just basically tighten down the mounting screw of this device with this switch. And if you have a power screwdriver, you can use that. The one trick that I use that helps with the finish is when you get the switch in place, you just snug it down, but not to a point where you can't move it. So I'll show you what I mean here. I'm tightening this down. And I can still move the switch. So I can still move the switch on the bottom and up at the top. That can go down a little bit tighter. So what happens here is that makes it so that way then when I put the switch plate on there, it gives me a little bit of play with the switch when I put it on there. That comes in real handy when you have multiple switches, because when you tighten these down too tight, you lock them, you can't move them. And if the switches aren't in the right place, trying to put a plate on, you'll have to just loosen them up anyway. So I just keep them snug like this. And this is an example here because this isn't finished, but I just want to show you how to install this switch. If this was a finish and this was drywall and painted or primed, we'll put our switches in, but we don't plate anything up until after we power up everything and we make sure everything works. Because if something doesn't work, you don't want to have to take plates off and things. Something like this, you can still do testing without having to take the device out of the wall. You can test here if you needed to for power. So anyways, that's how you install a single pole switch. It's pretty basic and straightforward. You shouldn't have any trouble doing this at all.